honestly, most people that even hear the word neurofeedback or an initial explanation of it are a little confused, and it is confusing to a degree. Um, but maybe I should demo it for you. Can I demo it for you?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you
Okay.
should demo it for
Let me
me
demo it
because
for
I'm a
you.
little bit clueless right
Maybe
now.
this will help. Okay. So what I have here is a headband that has these electrodes, and each of these little things right here is going to identify and record what my brain waves are doing.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's like a little amplifier here. Your brain waves is it's like an electrical impulse, but it's like a millionth of a volt. It's not much. It's not very powerful. And so what this is doing is it has an amplifier here that these little electrodes are all picking up a brainwave signal. And so it's actually telling me actively what my brain is doing according to my brain waves. And like we talked about earlier, the brain waves are like an orchestra, right? We want to identify if the flutes are being way too loud, more than they should be, or the flutes aren't playing at all, and we need the flutes to play. And so what we're doing is we're putting this headband on, okay? And I'm getting a little, kind of adjusting these little electrodes so they have a clear connection to my scalp. And basically what's happening is right now it's trying to connect to my brain waves. It's trying to feed into that. And I'm opening up this app that my team is developing. And what this app is doing is basically saying, like, we're identifying the brain waves that are overactive or underactive. And the ones that are overactive, we're trying to make those come down. And the ones that are underactive, we're trying to make those come up. And how we do that, how we make those brain waves do what they're supposed to do. And so, for example, I'll go ahead and start at the beginning. So I'm reading this text right here, and my brain's jumping out of what it's supposed to do right now. I'm distracted. I'm talking to you, but let me read.
Okay, so you're reading in your head right now.
Yeah, but now I'm getting distracted. I'm talking to you. I'm distracted.
Okay, so it stops.
Okay, let me focus on reading. And then I'm getting distracted again. I'm talking to you. So this basically what happens is the screen is dimming and the text is stopping scrolling when I'm not doing what the brain is supposed to do.
Okay.
So neurofeedback in essence is it already knows what your brain is overactive in or underactive in. And it's basically trying to reinforce the desired state that the brain needs to be in by feedback. And so when you hear neurofeedback, what that is basically saying we need to find some way to reward your brain for being in the state that it needs to be. Let's say that you're watching a podcast, like Stephen Bartlett or something like that, like Diary to CEO, a very popular podcast. The podcast will stop, being bright, and the volume will stop flowing like normally, like it's supposed to. And, your brain doesn't like that. And so when the brain jumps into a state that's supposed to, the podcast will resume. Normal visuals, normal audio, all of that will start to resume. And then the same thing, we have fractals, we have fractal images, like there's these beautiful images that play with classical music. And when your brain's doing what it's supposed to do, the classical music is resuming. But when your brain is not in the state that we want it to be in, the classical music stops, or it gets dim, the screen gets dim, the sound goes away. So the brain is like, wait, how do I continue this? I want to continue this state. What we found is that after you go multiple times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, and you go for several weeks, what we found is the brain actually starts to change over time. And these changes, the brain's like, oh, I want to keep that reward going. I want to keep that reward going. It actually sticks and it becomes permanent. And so then the brain, we've got years of trauma of ingrained in our system that are there to stay that actually start to shift into a desired, calm, conscious, healthy state.
There are people that are listening that have never heard of neurofeedback in their lives.
Yeah.
What has happened in front of your own eyes because of this work that you're doing?
I had this one boy that came in, and his dad was kind of distraught. He was saying that his son had auditory processing disorder. They've tried everything. They didn't know where else to turn. They've done therapy, they've done in school care, and he still just couldn't understand sentences. He couldn't understand when somebody would tell him something. He had echolalia, which was basically repeating back what somebody said. Like, hey, I told you to do the dishes. And he'd be like, oh, I told you to do the dishes. And he would just repeat back what they would say. And it was very alarming and dysfunctional in the family, and difficult for their family. And they had a very hard time with it. And so they had tried everything. And so he's like, yeah, I think we might possibly try neurofeedback. A friend of mine had recommended it, and they did it. And, the first 10 sessions were kind of rough for him, and neurofeedback, it's kind of like this. It's like the first 10 sessions, it might be like, going to the gym for the first time. Okay, so source shows up in neurofeedback after about 10 sessions of, hey, my son was wired all night. He had so much energy, he couldn't go to sleep. My son had no energy. He was so tired and depressed. Like, he only wanted to sleep. And so you're going to get these side effects because the brain is doing something that it hasn't done in forever. Literally, it's rewarding the area that is damaged.
And that's nothing to be afraid of. It's something
not at all.
So that's like, for lack of a better term, an educational moment.
That's the brain actually being receptive and doing what we want it to do. And so the brain's actually practicing what I want it to practice. And so, of course, you're going to be sore. Of course, you're going to have side effects. Of course, you're going to be overtired, overstimulated. And so overstimulation means that I'm trying to stimulate certain areas. The brain did it too much, and it needs to calm down a little bit. The brain automatically wants to jump into things, And so this is normal. These side effects are normal. But then after about 20 sessions, that's usually the threshold where you start, like, everybody has the wow moment. My child is different. They're paying attention. They're focused. They're concentrating on what they're supposed to. They're listening. They're reflecting. Like, I don't know who this child is, but in a good way.
Right.
And so after about 20 sessions, they see that, and then they want to continue. And then the magic is happening, and then the child is noticing it. It's like, so it's a little emotional because the child that I'm thinking about, kids were picking on him, and he was, bullied, and he just couldn't understand his peers. And after about 20 sessions of neurofeedback, this kid was having detailed, articulate conversations with his parents that were above his grade level. And they were noticing it. And they were like, Matt, like, honestly, our only complaint is this kid is asking us so many questions that we're like annoyed by the questions. And like, when we tell him something, it leads to more questions. He's like thinking about it, processing it. And they're like, how is this happening? And it was so unbelievable. And so this kid went from being like, and you got to think about his life. You got to think about his little life.
And how old was he, by the way?
He was 9.
Okay.
And you got to think about his life. He's being like picked on, and he's, other kids are mean to him, and he's like in the outfield, and he's not like, he's just not being valued. And then, like, flash forward, after 35 sessions, this kid is the pitcher. He's the main player on the team.
Really?
He's the powerhouse. He's the power hitter. And all the kids want to be his friend. He's like responding to them and having conversations with them. When he comes into my sessions, I'm noticing, and like, he's like, oh yeah, so Lucas was telling me the other day, they had a lizard, and like, I didn't even know. Did you know bearded dragons exist? And he's opening up. It's like we unlock the key to this child to be who he's actually supposed to be. And so he, he's like the star of the team. And it was just, his parents noticed it, and they were so emotional seeing this experience. Like this healed my son. This made my son who he's supposed to be, and it was so powerful and unbelievable. And that was the moment, like, for me, like, this actual avenue of mental health is not a joke. It's real. It actually works, and people need to know about it.